Welcome back to another episode of Disney Unpacked. It's me, Len Testa, and as you can tell by the monuments that were around, we are in Plymouth, Massachusetts, where we're next to a rock that is engraved with the number 1620. And I'm here with my friend Jim Schull. Jim Schull, is 1620 the address that we have for the rock? Is this what the Pilgrims know? They got to Plymouth, they started in 1616, went to 1618, then found 1620. Oh, we're here.
Well, at least they had to not double park to get their mail.
I hate it when I have to double park my ship.
Especially on a rock like that one.
Exactly. Anyway, we're here to talk about all the different ways in which the Disney parks celebrate Thanksgiving on this episode of Disney Unpacked. I'm here today with Jim Schull and Jim Hill, and we're doing a special on-location holiday edition for our new video series, one that takes a look at the sometimes weird ways that Disney parks are tied to Thanksgiving. Take, for example, that boat in Plymouth Harbor behind us.
You mean the Mayflower II?
Jim, I believe its full nautical name is Mayflower II Electric Boogaloo.
No, but it is a full-scale replica of the three-masted ship that brought the Pilgrims to the New World, which took English shipbuilders who used traditional methods 2 full years to build by hand.
And when did they sail it over to the States when the reproduction was done?
That would have been spring of 1957, and Mayflower II was a very big deal back then. You see, before it made its way up to Massachusetts Bay, the ship sailed up the Hudson to New York City, and the ship's crew was then treated to a ticker tape parade. After that, Mayflower II sailed north to Plymouth Harbor, where 25,000 people stood on shore to cheer its arrival.
I imagine that a ticker tape parade for a ship is quite the event, because how do you get the Mayflower to go down Amsterdam Avenue? But I'm sure this got all kinds of publicity, Jim.
Well, you are not wrong. Len, as the story goes, the publicity got the attention of one Mr. Walt Disney. Not that Walt was there for the ticker tape parade back in 1620, but, anyway, you see that Walt was always interested in history, and he also was very interested in Disneyland in Anaheim. And at that point in time, well, you see, Walt was looking at the rivers of America at Disneyland, and he was thinking to himself, well, I've already got the Mark Twain on the river. What we need is another big boat.
Walt likes big boats and he cannot lie.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that how we got the Columbia into the theme park?
Well, it's not as simple as you make it sound, Len. I got to stop for one note here that the Mayflower and the Columbia, well, they're both historically significant three-masted vessels for all of you boat aficionados.
And here's a fun fact. The original Columbia, before it became the first sailing vessel to circumnavigate the globe under the U.S. flag, that was built right here in Plymouth Harbor.
Really?
Yeah. Yep, back in 1787.
So when Walt had this replica of the Columbia built for Disneyland, did he do what the people did for the Mayflower and hire craftsmen and then build it by hand?
Well, Len, as I said a moment ago, just a moment ago, bringing the Columbia to Disneyland, well, that wasn't as simple back in the day as picking up the telephone and dialing 1-800-WE-BUILD-BOATS. What Walt, did when he put this project into motion, in summer of 1957, right after the Mayflower II first dropped anchor here in Plymouth Harbor, well, he wanted a full-size tri-masted sailing ship cruising around the rivers of America, and he wanted it in less than a year's time.
So I'm assuming some construction corners may have been cut?
Interesting you use the phrase cut.
Especially with wood.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
When the 92-foot-long hull of the Columbia was delivered to the park in March of 1958...
Wait, they delivered it? Like Amazon rolls up and is like, oh, hey, delivery, sign here.
Well, something like that. But, Disney had the hull of the Columbia, and it was made down in San Pedro, California, by the Todd shipyards. And these are the very, very same people who built the hull for the original Mark Twain that's on the rivers of America.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that, but that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense, because why not go to the people who delivered the first boat for a second? But here's another fact. When the Mark Twain's hull was delivered to Disneyland in the winter, well, actually late winter of 1955, it would have been far easier to transfer that thing from the theme park's parking lot over to the rivers of America. But, looking forward in the calendar, by 1957,
Oh yeah, Disneyland's open. It's finished. It's open to guests. How do they? So is there a backstage path where they can get the hull into the park?
Oh God, no! I got an issue of the April 1958 Disneylander. That was the cast member newsletter from back then, and they describe how they first got a crane to lift the Columbia hull up out of the Disneyland parking lot onto a modified flatbed railroad car.
Walt is looking at Lily and going, "See, honey, I told you that railroad would come in handy."
There we go. There we go. All right, they then inch this flatbed car with the hull on it along the Disneyland, the tracks of the railroad, and they're removing trees that are in the way, shrubs, because just the hull itself is 28 feet wide.
And then once they got it close enough to the water, they just give it a shove.
I wish it were that simple. No, after they got out the weed whacker there, Len, they had to move a steel crane way deep inside the park in order to lift it. But even before they did that, they had to, rip out over 40 feet of fence over by Holidayland to do so.
Oh, I forgot about Holidayland.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, so this was a project.
It was a big deal. But anyway, the day came when the Columbia's hull was lifted off of that modified railroad car, and it was swung and flown over the berm and lowered into Fowler Harbor. And it was in Fowler Harbor that all of the finished work was completed on Disneyland's version of the Columbia.
I can't believe that they decided to do all of the finish work while it's in the water. But okay, so when did it first start sailing around the rivers of America? This replica.
That would have been June 14th, 1958, which is less than a year than the Mayflower II when that sailed into Plymouth Harbor.
So 0.16 trons is what I'm hearing from the Mayflower.
There we go. Wow. Okay.
Ooh,
And all right. So was this a cause and effect thing? So Walt sees all the publicity from the Mayflower II when it comes to the United States, and that's why he wanted the Columbia built for Disneyland?
Well, publicity never hurts. But since you brought up the topic of publicity, Len, we got to get moving, and let's talk about our next Thanksgiving-related story. And this one is about how the turkeys that were pardoned by the president of these United States wound up going to live the rest of their days in Disneyland or at Walt Disney World.
Right. Yeah. And I think this practice started in our lifetimes, right? Yeah, where the president is in the Rose Garden. They have this clearly concerned-looking turkey standing in front of them, and the turkey always has a name like course number 3 or entree, right?
Well, actually, one year it was marshmallow and yam, and the next year it was pumpkin and pecan. So yeah, I get what you're saying.
Anyway, all right. So the turkey's sitting there, clearly thinking up an exit strategy. The president, goes in and says, we're pardoning the turkey this year, and then it was being sent to Disneyland, right? And then you'd see later, the Disney PR team would take over, and then you see the turkey going down Main Street, USA, as the honorary marshal of the parade or whatever, looking super confused, but also, and I don't know if turkeys can express this, but relief.
Yeah, well, they say today that cats can have over 200 expressions. So maybe turkeys do too, but
turkeys need 3.
Yeah, like help and don't eat me. And the third one we'll talk about another time. But anyway, this is something that Disneyland started doing in 2005. And it was done as part of that theme park's 50th anniversary celebration. I remember I was part of that. And, they reached out to the White House and offered the birds that are traditionally pardoned by the president.
No, wait a minute. Technically, what's happening in the Rose Garden on that day is a stay of execution. All right, seriously.
Really?
I actually called and checked. So, yes.
Oh, my God, there's paperwork? It's the federal government. There's paperwork.
There you go.
I want to know where this turkey's signed.
There we go.
Anyway, thanks for the fact check. Anyway, good grief. What Disney was offering the White House that day was to give those turkeys a permanent home at Big Thunder Ranch out in California.
Which is coincidentally what my parents said when we had to get rid of my dog Shep. They're going to go live on a farm upstate. You can run free. It'll be fine. You'll love it. You can go visit whenever you want.
Oh, that would be confusing to a very young lad of tender years.
I was 32, but whatever.
Yeah, well, give or take.
Still a little bitter about it.
Yeah, well. Yeah.
But you know what? On the bright side, I get to pick my mom's nursing home. So,
Oh. Yeah, right, guys, we got to pivot.
Anyway, Marshmallow the turkey.
Yeah, he weighed 37 pounds when he was pardoned. So, at 37, you're not going to be running any sprints or marathons. Right. At best, all he could do ever was just strut around his pen over there at Big Thunder Ranch, right next to the log cabin. And, standing there, he'd benignly get his picture taken by tourists all day long. Mm-hmm. Anyway. Back to this. This publicity stunt really was successful, and it got so much press coverage that Walt Disney World, they now wanted it on the media action. They wanted on the publicity that had been nationwide. So the very next year, when the turkeys at the White House received their stay of execution, they weren't flown west. They were flown south. They were flown to Orlando, Florida.
You mean they were actually put on a plane? Really?
God, Len, they had seats in first class. And in fact, the flight they took down to Florida wasn't Air Force One, but rather Turkey Trot 2.
Can I ask whether they were offered an in-flight meal?
Enjoy this cornbread.
Exactly. Lobster thermidor and awkward.
Yeah, I'll have the vegan, please.
The flight attendants are like, look, first of all, protein's good for you. Second of all, it's no one you know. Right?
So this seasonal publicity stunt, and it continued on for 5 years, with Disneyland and Walt Disney World annually swapping back and forth who got the rights to parade those pardoned birds through their castle park each and every November.
All right, so I'm going to ask a really awkward question here, because I've visited Big Thunder Ranch before, and I've seen these turkeys. And I know for a fact, Jim Scholl, that Disney Imagineers put a turkey leg cart like 30 feet away from these turkeys. There has to be a time, I have to imagine, that there was at least one guest who wandered back to that pen while holding onto a turkey leg. And
all right, totally changing the subject here. Oh yeah, did you know that at the very first Thanksgiving, which was held on November 9th, 1621, the Pilgrims didn't actually serve turkey. Instead, they ate fowl, and in this case, fowl is ducks and geese. And the indigenous people who joined the Pilgrims at this celebration, their contribution to the feast were 5 deer that they'd killed.
So your diversion in this conversation, Jim Hill, is to stop talking about turkey legs and start reminding people about Bambi's mother?
No.
Okay. Maybe I didn't think this through.
Well, okay. Well, look, we'll grant you dispensation this time, Hill. But, anyway, before we stop the show, let's get back to those turkey legs. Let's talk about them some more. Yeah. You know what? Those turkey legs are extremely popular at Disney parks, not just in Orlando, but all around the globe. I have personally seen people stand in line, over a 2-hour-long line, I may add, at Shanghai Disneyland, just so they could sample this all-American delicacy, the turkey leg.
That's amazing. I didn't realize that it was a multicultural phenomenon. And Jim Hill, we've actually never talked about turkey legs in the parks. Do you know when they started selling them?
The actual date was December 9th, 1989.
And they just started selling them out of the blue? Like what? How do you even?
No. I mean, as we've said before, in almost every single Disney Unpacked, nothing ever happens in any Disney park clear out of the blue. I've told you about those field trips I think I used to take with my fellow Imagineers to theme parks all around the country every year.
I've heard some of the stories, but I haven't heard this one.
This theme park research trip would happen every single summer, usually twice. We would typically fly into a city, rent a car, and then drive across the country. We might see in a week to 10 days, 30 to 50 theme parks. The rule of thumb was that we'd be doing 2 theme parks every day, plus a bonus park if we could fit one in.
Holy cow. And the goal of this trip was?
Well, to keep current, basically, we would pack our little accelerometer for the right engineer to go and test the ride forces on new things that we hadn't seen, old things that we wanted to document. We'd go and eat food. We'd go check out the cleanliness of their toilets. We would look at the plant material. We'd do the whole Megillah, and we would do that 3 times a day.
Wow. So would Imagineering also send employees out specifically to theme parks to look at food to see what they're serving?
Oh, yeah, not just food, Len, but also the state fairs and Renaissance fairs, little pop-up, exhibits. Anywhere that there was food, we'd go and look at it. In fact, to tell the story about David Jarrett, actually, I shouldn't tell the story. Jim Hill, you tell the story.
Well, all right. David was a food and beverage manager at the Magic Kingdom back in the late 1980s. And on one of these trips, one summer, just like Jim did, he's at a Renaissance fair and he sees a guy dressed as Henry VIII happily walking through the fair, gnawing on this enormous turkey leg.
You can see it in your head, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's the funny thing. Like, you're at a Ren fair, and there's this guy dressed like Henry VIII, and he's gnawing on a giant turkey leg. I mean, how does it not catch your attention, right?
Oh.
That's something you don't see every day.
No, less at the Ren Fair. But anyway, it was a turkey leg that was a tasty treat, but it was also important because you could eat it with just one hand. It wasn't like a sandwich or a hamburger or something that requires two.
Yeah.
You had your, fast pass in one hand, your turkey leg in the other, and off you went.
And you're set. Yeah,
You're
exactly.
set
Life
for
is
the-
good.
Life is good. Anyway, this made Jarrett think that he had just found the perfect new food to sell to guests who were visiting Disney parks.
Magic Kingdom management actually took a while to get on board with this idea.
Oh, I mean, just think of the logistical stuff. First of all, where do you buy that many turkey legs? Number 2, how do you cook them? Where do you store them? I mean, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
So he goes to food and bev management. He's like, fellas, I have the next big idea for you. It's turkey legs. What happens?
no simple solution was arrived at, but it was something that he really, truly believed in. So even though he got laughed at, he suggested and won the right to make a field test of the turkey legs in the Magic Kingdom. I mean, just the facts that these things, at least initially, they need to be smoked for 24 hours straight. This was not fast food, guys. 24 hours was required to make any single smoked turkey leg the guests could then enjoy. So, to be brief, it was kind of a nightmarish thing for the park to be selling.
But Jared was persistent. He finally got his bosses at Food and Beverage to say, okay, we'll agree to let you test turkey legs in the park. But then they kind of deliberately set David's turkey leg test up to fail.
How did they do this?
Well, look at the dates that the turkey legs first went on sale in the Magic Kingdom. That date was December.
Second week of December.
Yeah. You got it all in one. Right between the two holidays, and people have already eaten turkey, and they're about to eat more turkey. So it wasn't the most opportune of times.
Picture this, Len. They tell David he can set up his test cart across from Pecos Bill. So where's the toughest place to sell people food? Right across from another restaurant?
Oh, not only that, it's outside where, and you have to stand up and eat it, whereas Pecos Bill has seating and air conditioning.
Yeah, all of the above. Yeah. You checked all the boxes for failure, but anyway.
Exactly, all of the things. All right, but it didn't fail, right? Because we see the turkey legs.
No, and for the most obvious of reasons. I mean, everyone who's home this week and they smell that wonderful smell of fresh turkey coming out of their kitchen, that hits our primal brain in a way to get the salivatory glands moving. Even if you've eaten turkey, you want more turkey. There's something about that smell you just can't resist.
It is amazing. And those first couple bites.
Oh, yeah.
Jared goes out on stage, and he has with him what he thinks is a 3-hour supply of turkey legs.
A decent test, 3 hours.
3 hours.
3 hours.
Okay. They're all gone in 20 minutes.
And he's like, oh.
There we go. All right. So.
I've seen the future.
All right.
Yeah, all right. So that's how we get new food for the parks. How many, does anybody know how many turkey legs Disney sells now?
Let's see, Len. If we're talking about the 6 stateside Disney parks, it's around 2 million turkey legs every single year.
2 million
Yeah.
turkey legs a year.
Yeah, that's 1 million turkeys that are walking around. Well, they're not actually walking around, but at all. But
That's 5,500 turkey legs a day.
yes,
Every day.
every single day. But they're not called turkey legs in every single park. They do change the names depending upon the park that they're sold in. Jim, do you know the name that they're sold under in the Animal Kingdom?
Yeah, they're over there. They're dinosaur bones. And by the way, we were talking about it, kind of a nightmarish food because it takes 24 hours to smoke these things. Based on demand, and clearly this was going to be a hit product, Disney eventually figured out how to speed up the smoking process and get it down from 24 hours to just 6 hours.
And still, 6 hours is a lot of time to prepare food.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay.
Yep.
It is.
All right. But Jim, I do want to clear one thing up about the size of the turkey legs. So we all know, we've all heard the rumor that the turkey legs that are sold at the parks are so large because it's not actually turkey. It's like emu or ostrich or something. That's not true, right?
No. It's not true, Len. There's actually a very easy explanation. The truth is this. The turkey that you eat at your Thanksgiving turkey table, that's going to be a hen. That's what the supermarkets sell. That's what you get from your grocer. And those birds, hen birds, tend to be on the smaller size than the ones you eat at the Disney parks. However, the ones in the Disney parks are the size they are because they're tom turkeys, the male turkeys, and that explains the size difference.
Oh, thank you for the solving that mystery. Also, I am super hungry right now. Is anyone else?
Me.
All right. Quick question here. Are you in the mood for a modern Thanksgiving, or are you thinking of something more traditional? Because it might take me a while to scare up Bambi's mom.
And now I've lost my appetite.
It's going to take me a long time to see that image.
Well, now that Mr. Hill has ruined all of our appetites, I just want to take a quick moment here to wish you and yours a happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for watching this very first episode of Disney Unpacked on the Road. We've got a lot of great new content headed your way in the coming months, so please keep an eye out for all of that stuff. And thank you for supporting our Patreon project. On behalf of Mr. Scholl and Mr. Hill, thanks for watching. This is Len Testa, signing off from historic Plymouth Harbor.
Jim Hill here. If you've been enjoying Disney Unpacked on YouTube, be sure and head on over to Patreon and join our community. Not only will you receive the entire Jim Hill Media suite of podcasts ad-free, but you'll also get bonus episodes of the Disney Dish and, more importantly, the full episodes of Disney Unpacked with more stories from Jim Scholl, Len Testa, and I. By joining our Patreon, you are helping us continue to evolve our entertainment offerings and are part of the team. We can't wait to show you some of the other ideas we've been working on. And if you haven't yet, be sure and subscribe to Disney Unpacked on YouTube. Thanks for watching and supporting the team at Jim Hill Media and Disney Unpacked.